Have you ever felt like your heart's trying to punch its way out of your chest in a horror movie? Or maybe your palms start sweating before a big exam? Today, we'll explore your body's own response squad, the sympathetic nervous system. Let's demystify the mechanisms behind these fascinating reactions together. Let's kick things off with a cursory glance at the autonomic nervous system. Picture the autonomic nervous system as your body's sophisticated autopilot system. It's quietly regulating, fine-tuning, and coordinating a constellation of vital functions like blood pressure, body temperature, digestion, and so much more, all without conscious thought. The body's nervous system splits into two primary categories, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is composed of the brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is divided into the somatic and the autonomic systems. The somatic nervous system controls voluntary movements and sensory processing. It consists of nerves that go to the skin and muscles. The autonomic nervous system is our focus today, and it comprises two main divisions, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Imagine these systems as two faces of a coin, often performing opposing yet complementary roles. However, they aren't without exceptions. For example, certain functions like sweating and the regulation of blood vessel diameter are exclusively controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are continually active, and the tone of an effector organ or system can be increased or decreased. You should consider the concept of an organ's tone as analogous to a volume control. The sympathetic nervous system can modulate volume by either amplifying or diminishing it. If we look at this volume control analogy in the realm of vascular control, the sympathetic system can induce vasoconstriction by increasing vascular smooth muscle tone or promote vasodilation by decreasing it. When examining the heart's pacemaker, the effects of the autonomic nervous system is a little different. The sinoatrial and atrioventricular nodes are influenced by both the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. However, one system typically exerts a more dominant control. The parasympathetic system acts to decelerate the heart rate, and when its influence is reduced, the heart rate naturally accelerates. But this acceleration can be further intensified by the sympathetic system's stimulation. Our focus today, however, is only the sympathetic nervous system, which acts like your body's quick response force. When a significant threat looms, it propels into high gear, triggering the familiar fight or flight response. Let's construct a scenario. You're walking along a quiet street when all of a sudden you look and your eyes lock on a car speeding directly at you. Almost instantly, your heart rate skyrockets, your blood pressure elevates, and your pupils dilate. Your sympathetic nervous system is at work, catapulting you into survival mode. Of course, in real life, it's even more complex because of the additional reflex responses that I'm not discussing here. The sympathetic response in times of stress is often referred to as catabolic because it dominates during periods of pronounced energy expenditure, such as when our survival is on the line. But how does the sympathetic nervous system accomplish this? The sympathetic nervous system consists of a network of nerve fibers that originate from the spinal cord in the thoracic and lumbar regions, specifically from T1 to L2. The nerve pathways in this system follow a two-neuron sequence to reach their target organs. The first neuron, the preganglionic neuron, resides within the spinal cord and its axon exits via the spinal nerve. It synapses with the second neuron, the postganglionic neuron, within a ganglia. The axon of the postganglionic neuron then continues to the target organ. The neurotransmitters are the biochemical messengers that allow these neurons to communicate with each other and the target organs. In the sympathetic nervous system, the primary neurotransmitter of the preganglionic neuron is acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter often associated with the parasympathetic nervous system. But it's actually used by both systems at the level of the ganglion. This acetylcholine acts on nicotinic receptors found on the postganglionic neuron. The neurotransmitter story gets a little more complex and more interesting with the postganglionic neurons. The majority of these neurons release norepinephrine, also known as noradrenaline, which acts on adrenergic receptors in the target organs, triggering the physiologic responses associated with the fight or flight reaction. These responses include increased heart rate, dilated pupils, slowed digestion, and heightened alertness. However, some of the postganglionic neurons, particularly those that innervate sweat glands and blood vessels in the skeletal muscles, release acetylcholine instead of norepinephrine. These neurons are exceptions to the rule and can be thought of as a little piece of the parasympathetic system nested within the sympathetic system. Moreover, when the body perceives a threat, the adrenal glands also come into play. This happens because one type of preganglionic sympathetic fiber does not terminate in a ganglion. These are the axons from the central sympathetic neurons that project to the adrenal medulla, the interior portion of the adrenal gland. These axons are still referred to as preganglionic fibers, but the target is not a ganglion. The adrenal medulla releases adrenaline or epinephrine into the bloodstream, which acts as a hormone. This has a similar effect to norepinephrine, but on a broader scale, effectively putting the entire body on high alert. This is where the fascinating world of pharmacology intersects our discussion. Medications known as sympathomimetics can mimic these actions of neurotransmitters, binding to adrenergic receptors and triggering a fight or flight response. For instance, adrenaline itself is used as a medication in emergency situations to jumpstart the heart. Conversely, sympatholytics inhibit actions of the sympathetic nervous system, which decreases the sympathetic tone in various tissues. A common example, which we'll discuss later, would be beta blockers, which inhibit the action of adrenaline and noradrenaline. Having a clear understanding of these nerve pathways and the neurotransmitter actions can help you predict the effects of activating or inhibiting the sympathetic nervous system, and provides foundational knowledge for understanding the mechanism of action of many medications. In contrast, the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in Zen master, is primarily concerned with energy conservation, resource replenishment, and routine organ function maintenance. This division brings about the rest and digest response. Once the threat of sudden death by car encounter has subsided and you're safe, your parasympathetic system goes into effect, slowing your heart rate, stimulating digestion, and constricting your pupils. In the world of pharmacology, we have another set of heroes called parasympathomimetics. These drugs mimic the actions of the parasympathetic nervous system, slowing the heart rate, stimulating digestion, and constricting pupils. They're often used to recover the body after a stressful event or to treat conditions like high blood pressure. Understanding the sympathetic nervous system is critical, particularly for our pharmacology and pathophysiology students. A slew of medical conditions from hypertension to anxiety disorders are the result of an overactive or underactive sympathetic nervous system. By gaining a comprehensive understanding of this system, you can better comprehend these conditions, their pathophysiology, and their treatments. We'll discuss this system in a future video. Understanding the sympathetic nervous system's mechanisms is key to unraveling the mechanism of action of various medications. Let's consider beta blockers again. This commonly prescribed class of drugs used to treat conditions like high blood pressure and heart disease operates as a sympatholytic, which inhibits the sympathetic nervous system's effect on the heart and blood vessels. They allow vasodilation, slow down the heart rate, and decrease the force of the heart's contraction, thereby reducing blood pressure. Well, there you have it, a comprehensive yet brief journey through the sympathetic nervous system, its neurotransmitters, nerves, and its critical role in both health and disease. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be alerted when I release future videos in this series. I hope you found the video helpful. I'll see you next time.